Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ariel and we are here to keep exploring these careers, this life of ours, and make the most of it. My goal on this channel is really to be a resource to individuals who are exploring their career, who are in corporate America and just trying to find their own way. Corporate careers might be the best fit for you, but then again, entrepreneurship could be a good fit for you as well. I will never, ever tell you that you need to quit your job and start a business today. But what I will do is help you explore that option together so that we can make the best decision for you. I would like to be a resource to you, whether that's through the Work and Play podcast or through some tips and tricks on how you can navigate your career. No matter what position you are in your career, I'm going to have information on the different transitions that you can get through successfully without experiencing some of the bumps and bruises that a lot of other people have done before you. So on this channel, we are going to explore other people's careers, every journey that they've experienced, some of the tips and tricks that I've learned in my own career, and then I want to hear from you and see how things are working on your end. So today we're going to get into transitions, different types of transition and transferable skills that are going to help you succeed in your transition. Before we get into it, it's important that we know why transferable skills are even important. So when you're transitioning, a lot of times people are trying to piece together your past and your future. They want to know, how does what you've done help them do what they're doing? And you want to be able to communicate that. So this whole part of you sharing your story, sometimes it's for you to understand where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. But the better you understand those three things, the more you can explain your story to someone who can possibly use your assistance. So selling our transferable skills is at the core of this conversation today. So the two transitions that we're going to speak about with regard to transferable skills are, one, going from employee to business owner, and then two, going from one field to a completely different field. It's important that we'll be able to connect those dots for other people because, like I said, people don't always get it. So let's say you're a beauty consultant. You currently work at MAC or Sephora and you're really good at putting on people's makeup. You also have a really good knack for inventory. Now, because you have a knack for inventory, what that means is you know when the last lipstick is out, you know which lipstick is the best seller, and you also know when things need to be restocked before it's time for you to restock them. So even though you have this really creative job, I encourage you to explore those technical sides of your job, such as inventory, and think about how that will translate to a larger role. So if you want to be a business owner, maybe you're considering being a spa owner. How does one being a beauty consultant transition to being a spa owner? Well, one of the skills that you currently have is that creative side. You're able to tap into different looks and help customers understand which makeup is good fit for them, which one is healthy for their skin, and the like. And to mention that inventory piece, when you're a business owner, some of the creativity takes a back seat, but that inventory management, or let's call it supply chain management, will help you understand when do you need to refill certain things? When do you need to stock your supplies? And then how often do you need to replenish those goods? When you think about those creative jobs, we never think about the technical skills that align to the jobs that we're doing. But it's important that if you're considering entrepreneurship, that you start now thinking about those transferable skills such as supply chain management, distribution, inventory, and even sales. Because when you're out as an entrepreneur, you are going to have to sell that beauty product way harder than you did when you were at Sephora, unless you were on commission. The next example is someone in the service industry. Let's just go with an employee of a restaurant. They currently work in the kitchen and they usually flip the burgers and then they drop the fries on a regular basis. Well, at its face value, you might just think, well, that is all I do. I come to work, I cook the burgers, I put it in the bag, and then I take it out for completion. But that's not all that you do. Consider the steps that it takes for you to successfully get a customer from order to eating in one sitting. All of the different components that it takes for the people in the front end, the front of the house, to do their job, as well as everything that it takes for you to do your job. Now let's dive in a little bit deeper. Let's just say your boss calls you in for the lunch hour every day. And for some reason, he just thinks you are the best person to deal with the high volume that goes on in a restaurant. You think to yourself, I hate this shift. I don't know why he keeps bringing me back for this position, but for some reason he does. chances are you're probably really good at it. And what you're good at is catering to the crowds. So when it comes to volume and understanding how to manage different crowds and how to plan ahead, strategic planning is very important when you're thinking about being a franchise owner. So while you might be in the kitchen now, you could possibly be owning your own Burger King in the future. And you'll want to understand volume. You'll also want to understand crowds. You'll also want to understand daytime hours and what are the busy times. Then you'll want to be able to communicate to yourself how you're able to plan for these crowds. That's strategic planning, thinking about every small detail and then thinking about how you can put a strategy together. So while you think stocking the ketchup is really nothing, you're essentially stocking the ketchup at 11:30 because you know at 11:45, the people who are rushing on their break at 12 o'clock are going to be coming at you nonstop. And you can't take a break to restock the ketchup then. No, you think ahead, you plan strategically, and you do the job so that you can address the crowd in time. The last transition we're going to talk about when it comes to going from employee to business owner is a customer service role or something like hospitality. In these roles, it's very customer facing. You're on the front end of the business and you're required to meet the customer's needs at that moment. You know the customer better than anyone else. And so you are the face of the company when it comes to speaking to the client and making sure they have a wonderful experience with the company. Many people underrate customer service jobs because they think that, when we're in the service industry, we don't necessarily have very many skills at all. But I want you to think again. When you plan to be a business owner, you have to understand your customer. And who better knows the customer than the people who work on the front end? Customer service and hospitality, they know customer behavior at the most intimate levels. And when I say intimate levels, they know they're good. They know they're bad. They know what side of the bed they sleep on. They know why they change their soaps 3 times a day. They know what gets them angry, and people on the front end know how to make another customer happy. If you ever had a cashier turn your day from sadness to sunshine, they were working their people skills. And knowing those people skills at a granular level will help you develop that customer service brand once you establish your business. The customer is always right. And when you're an entrepreneur, that is even more right. So if you're interested in being a business owner and you're thinking about how do I use my skills to transition into business ownership, I want you to think about your job from a conceptual standpoint and not the traditional way that we look at some of these roles. It's not just what the job description says. It's actually some of those technical things that go into our job that make us good at what we do and that will make our business great for what it is. Also, it will make our business unique. So even if you're starting a tech firm and you started in customer service as a younger person, bringing that vibe, that customer service vibe to your tech business is what's going to make you stand out from the competition. And so when I tell you transferable skills, we're not just talking about skills, we're also talking about your personality. And so I want you to think about all of those things, your personality, your unique skills, and then the things that you have done in your job that might seem basic to other people, but make you stand out from others that will help you be a successful business owner in the future. The second transition that I want to speak to is one where you're transitioning within the company. So let's say you're in a one department and you actually want to switch to another department, completely different from what you do. Or let's say you're in a specialist type of position and you want to develop your leadership skills. Being able to communicate how your skill sets will bring value to the next department is essential, and it's not always right at the front of your face. So again, I have 3 examples that we can talk through so that you can get a clear understanding of what these transitions might look like in your company. So let's say you're a reservation specialist. What you currently do is answer the phones, help clients book their ticket, or answer the phones, help clients work through their customer service need, or answer the phone and book a certain appointment for a client. And that's what you do, right? Wrong. What you do is so much more before you actually get on the phone with the client. And so here's an example. Most reservations jobs either operate through a process map or they have best practices and they more than likely have a lot of training. So what is all that training about? Well, Training is to help you understand the processes and procedures that your boss wants you to execute when you're on the phone. So when you're on the phone and you've done your planning, you know the procedure, and you're pretty much just on the phone being very intuitive, you've done so much work that I don't want you to forget. There's process, there's implementation, and there's planning all in that role. And I need you to think about that, because let's say you want to go from reservations to quality assurance. Well, the quality assurance person is looking at the reservations person and wondering, how effective are they on their call? How long does it take for them to deliver value? Do they actually address the client's need? These are technical things within a reservations position that you'll want to think about on a granular scale, on a macro scale, so that you can communicate this value at a larger level, right? So if you're able to go into an interview and explain that because you've spent 2 or 3 years spending time in reservations, you now understand the processes and procedures and the KPIs, the key performance indicators that make your job successful, and you are able to think about it at a macro or a global level, they can then understand that you have conceptualized yourself not only as a value add in reservations, but also someone who can think through how to help a reservation specialist do their job. Well, there's one level above that you can actually reach just by conceptualizing the job that you do. And let's talk about the sales representative. So a sales representative is similar to the reservation specialist. It's very customer facing, and you're doing it on the corporate level. So essentially, you are that person who is the voice of the company, and you're helping that customer develop a relationship with the company. Now, you might be paid hourly, and you might also not necessarily get the same perks as someone like business development. Well, what does business development do? A business development employee or professional essentially learns their client, and they figure out how the company can suit the client's needs. So this can be at a B2C, that's business to customer level, when you're a sales representative and you're learning how can you sell a client on your services, and how can you actually deliver value. But when you're B2B, business development is when your larger skills actually kick in. So you've done all of this work on understanding what clients need, what makes them happy, how to relate to people, and then understanding how can you draw up contracts that make it both a win-win scenario. Developing relationships on a one-on-one basis is one thing, but when you're developing relationships between two organizations, it takes that same skill of relationship building for you to be able to take a client from just being a cold or warm handshake to an actual contract. And then there's my favorite, project managers. I love the project management role because I think it gives you a good glimpse of different departments, different ways of thinking, and a diversity of people who are just all working towards one project. Project managers have some really great skills, from risk management to problem solving and even globalization. The project manager in your company is essentially probably good at wearing multiple different hats, but they're mostly suited to help you do your job the best. So what does a project manager have to do with, say, a vice president of operations? Well, I'm glad you asked. The vice president of operations has to understand how to optimize the company's bottom line. More than likely, the operations role is going to understand not only the bread and butter of the company, but also how to make the business continue to move smoothly. That's all a project manager does. Their job is to optimize everyone in the role so that they can move the overall project forward. And so operations VPs are going to want to understand how the peripheral businesses are affecting operations. How do they change the dynamics of operations one way or the other and pull different levers that make the business run smoother? So thinking about those transferable skills, problem solving is at the core of it. When you're vice president, let's say operations are down for a day. You're more than likely the person who they're going to come to figure out how can we solve this problem. And at very many levels of an operations operations structure are people who are suited for the numbers, the quality assurance part, the qualitative part, customer part, and all those things that make an operations continue running and continue running as fast as possible. So there you have it. There are 6 scenarios and 6 different transitions that you might be considering, but at the core of each and every one of them, the skill that I want you to think about, it's a long term, but I promise you it'll make sense. Conceptualization. When you can conceptualize what you do, you go from telling someone the nuts and bolts of the job that you do or the daily activities that you do to how your department or your role relates to another department or a different role, how your deliverables helped another department reach its goals, how you ultimately add value to the overall organization. And no matter which department you want to be in, no matter what department you currently are in, you can communicate your value in a story that conceptualizes how just doing your job will allow you to do this next job, even if they can't see it on face value. Don't let your resume speak for itself. Make sure you have a great resume, but also make sure your story is airtight. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you got some value from this video. If you did get value out of this video, it would be really great if you could like and subscribe and even share this video to someone that you know is on their way to a transition so that they can be well equipped in their next move. Until next time, I'm Ariel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.